Hey everyone, Bren here. Welcome to this week's video where I've got quite a few things to show you. So I'm going to go through some of the flower seeds that I'll be sowing over the weekend. I've also got a lot of food that's ready to pick in the garden today, so we'll go and check them out. And I wanted to show you something which I think is quite interesting and hopefully you guys will like as well. So I have a patch of dahlia tubers that are now in bloom that have all been grown from seed, and there's just such diversity in the stems and the blooms, and all of these seeds are from the same mother plant. So we'll check that out. It looks pretty cool, I think, and it's well worth doing. It's a bit of an experiment to see what you get, and it's worth it, especially when you get a tuber that puts out some gorgeous flowers, which I have been very fortunate to get this year. Now, what else did I want to say? I'm waffling on. So, oh yeah, and I want to check out, we'll look at the cut flower garden, because I harvest from there a big bucket of blooms that are just so beautiful, and they're for the arrangements that I put together for my small business called Bren's Blooms. So having said all of that, please just sit back for a few minutes and let's get into it now. Oh my goodness, I had to start the video over here today because it's looking stunning. You know, I've been feeling a little bit down this week and I don't know why exactly, but I'm telling you, looking at this display of summer flowers really has cheered me up no end. That's a black cockatoo. Don't see them very often. Oh, that's great, isn't it? I caught that on camera. How special. I just cleaned out this bucket with some warm sooty water because I need to harvest a bunch of flowers for this week's bouquets. Over the years, I've tried a few different types of buckets, but these ones are the absolute best. They are so sturdy, and I actually get them from my local IGA, and they're so reasonably priced at $4, an absolute bargain. At this stage, most of the buds on the Fever View are open, like a small amount still to come, but the majority are in bloom. They all seem to flower at the same time. If I was to harvest every single one of these flowering stems today, I know that I would get another flush of blooms in around mid-autumn time, but the stems then would be too short to use in my bouquets. Definitely not as long as what you're seeing here, but at least I would get another beautiful display of these cheery, dainty, daisy-like flowers. Do you remember when I originally planted up this area? Row 1 had lots of seedlings of statice and only 3 of the plants survived. And then I planted it out again with what you see here, Nigella Love in the Mist. And I've only got 1 seedling that made it through, and it's blooming. It's so pretty, and these plants actually have very nice seed heads too, so if you decide not to use them as a cut flower at this stage, you can let them develop into seed heads and use them in dried flower arrangements. Even though the Nigella and the statice didn't work out in this row, it's looking like, crossing my fingers, these, which are zinnias, are doing much better. So this is my 3rd attempt at trying to grow flowers in this row. I mean, like, I have lost a couple of plants here and there, but in general they are filling out the space nicely, and so is the grass again. It's so ferocious, such a thug. I'm gonna have to weed this again. I only weeded it last week, and even just pulling it out there, I can tell the roots are really deep down because it just won't pull out, it's stuck. There are so many dahlia flowers. Like, look at the amount on this one. I can't remember the name. Is that Brannock maybe? What I will do is deadhead some that are looking a bit over. Like, this one has been open for a while, I can tell, because you're starting to see the center there. It's more exposed, and if you pull it back like this, you can see the petals have folded all the way over like a pom-pom, and they are looking a bit scraggly, and if you give it a little touch like this, they just start to fall off. So I will do some deadheading with some of these dahlias. It looks like there's a storm coming because it's got really dark all of a sudden, so I may just put the camera down and pick a bunch of these. Before I do that, let's take a sec to admire the pretty dainty cosmos flowers. These are a little bit more tricky to harvest because I notice if you don't pick them at the correct stage, the vase life is really shortened. So I need to be coming out here early morning when I notice some of these flowers are freshly opening. Like this one here looks like it's just beginning to open. So if I pick this stem, I know this flower will last a bit longer compared to, say, this one here, which is looking a bit older. I'll just chop that off and let the other buds open for next week. I just rushed like a mad thing picking all these flowers because I could feel a few drops of rain and I really needed to get these harvested today. This bucket I've got zinnias and then over here some feverfew. I decided not to pick any cosmos or many dahlias, even though I've got quite a few flowering in the garden, and that is because I want to save them for Valentine's Day, which is only a couple of weeks away at this stage. For example, rather than picking this dahlia flower for the bouquets this week, I noticed on this stem that there are 2 more flower buds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deadhead this one, remove this one, and then hopefully if all things go well, but it's always very difficult to time. I guess that comes down with experience. I'm hoping that at least one of these flowers will be at the right stage to harvest for Valentine's Day on the 14th of February. I'll also be doing the same over here in this area where I've got a patch of dahlias which I've grown from saved seed. Like, look at them, they're the perfect colour for this romantic occasion. I think this patch is a really great example of showcasing the diversity that emerges from saving dahlia seeds. I mean, the variety in the stem length and the actual blooms themselves. Like for example on this plant, the stems are so sturdy and tall compared to, say, this plant where the stems are quite floppy and they're about half the height. Also their blooms are very different, more of an open face, and it's a little bit hard to tell on camera, but the actual petal colour is more of it has more of like an orangey hue to it. Here's another one to show you. It's actually, what I'll do now is I'll just pick off the 3 different flowers because I think it's easier to see the difference side by side. But these petals are a slightly different shape. They're more open. Now granted, this flower is a bit older, so it's not looking its best, but I can see the difference. Definitely quite a bit of variation with these 3 plants, and all of the seeds that they were grown from came from the same mother plant. Out of the 3 as a cut flower, this one is my favourite, but one that would be good to grow in the garden for the pollinators is this open face one, because it's so much easier for the bees to access the pollen and nectar here. I'll have to come out to the garden later on when it's a bit cooler with a harvest basket because there's quite a bit of food to pick. These are bullhorn chilies. There's also a few sweet banana peppers. Here's one of my zucchini plants, which is called Gold Max. They are a little bit on the small side, so not quite ready. I guess I'll leave them on for a couple more days. Remember, I put this in, I actually purchased it as a seedling a couple of months back, and it's absolutely thriving in this spot. Here in the container garden, some of the plants are really struggling. Like this is one of the eggplants that got attacked by flea beetles. I'm finding it very difficult to keep those pests under control. But this plant is such a trooper. Look, it's beginning to produce eggplants. There's another one over here too. I have to give these a water later. Look at the state of them. There's more eggplants on this one, which are ready to pick. This variety is called Patio Baby. It's a really good one to grow in pots, and you can see there the eggplants themselves are quite small. And yeah, I've got a few on here. I've got quite a number of chilies ready to harvest on this plant. It's just a bit hard to see them all. They're underneath the foliage. See if I'll pinch this one off. I believe this one's called Ajai Yellow. Oh, look at this. I missed one of the pickling cucumbers. I didn't notice that one on there. I've already harvested from this plant. Actually, when was that? It was only a few days ago. How did I miss this one? I don't know. Oh, but here's another one on the way. All the bugs are like flying at me today. Oh, it's so annoying. There's still heaps and heaps of basil growing in this pot. I've got more zucchinis growing over here. The Lebanese zucchini and the golden wonder. Now the thing with these plants is they're starting to grow out over the pathway, which isn't ideal because I like to keep the pathways nice and clean with snakes and stuff so we can see what's ahead of us. So I'm going to have to somehow, you know, encourage this to grow in that direction. But there's lots of zucchinis there. That one's still a bit small, but if I have a root round I may be able to find a bigger one. I've also got a few tomatoes ready to pick. It looks like that one there split open. This is something that can happen if the tomato plants themselves receive too much water at once. It doesn't seem to me, taking a bit of a look there, that that's from any kind of bug or, you know, pest damage. I just harvested this apple cucumber but realised I recorded it the wrong way. Now I'm so happy this plant is starting to produce fruit because these are the perfect size to add into lunch boxes for a crunch and sip. For any of you that don't know, crunch and sip is a break at school here in New South Wales where kids are encouraged to bring in fruit or chopped up vegetables and have that for a little snack in the morning as well as a drink of water. And my kids are back at school next week, so having these is perfect timing. It wasn't planned, it just worked out that way, which is awesome. I've got my flower seed box out because I'm starting to sow seeds for autumn. Next week I'll go through the cool weather crops that I'll be sowing, such as brassicas like cauliflower and kale, but for the moment I'm just going to go through a few of these flowers with you. I'm going to sow some statice, iceberg and some purple attraction. I'm going to direct sow some amaranthus, red cathedral, and then we'll do some snapdragons. I've got so many different types to choose from. I'm not 100% sure what I'll sow yet, but actually I just saw there, I'm definitely going to do this white snapdragon because white goes, well, in my opinion, goes with lots of different flowers, so I'll do that one. I'm definitely sowing some of these seeds because this variety seems to do really well in my area. Next up, cornflowers, mauve ball, the more common cornflower blue. I think I'll sow some of these too, the cornflower red ball. That kind of colour is more autumnal. I think that will go nice in bouquets for autumn time. And I'd say the same goes for these, the black ball, which are more of a like deep purple colour. I'll also do some paper daisies. I've got a packet of tall mix. I was planning on growing these this summer in a container, but it just didn't work out for me. The container dried out and got overrun by weeds, unfortunately. But I'm still going to try again and hopefully I'll have better luck this time. I'm trying to balance this on my lap. It's not working out very well. And I noticed there, I could start my foxgloves as well. These are actually a biannual. So what happens with them in, well, what they say happens with them in the first year, they just grow and the plants put on a lot of, you know, foliage and fill out nicely. But it's the second year that they flower. But I find what happens here, if I sow them now towards the end of summer, I will be able to get a decent sized plant before winter arrives, and then the following spring, that's when they will flower. So I don't have to wait like an entire year for them, because I think it's because their growing season is quite long. I mean, you know, that's just what I reckon. I'm not an expert, but it seems to make sense to me. There's an Excelsior mix, and what else have I got in here? Oh, these look good. Is that the apricot one? Oh no, strawberry, but these are very pretty. I might sow them. Hopefully I have enough. I think the packet has been open already. If I don't, I may go and purchase a few more seeds. And I think that is about it. Like, I'm not going to bother with the cosmos. There is, oh, I've got like sunflowers. I could do another succession of sunflowers. I do have a couple of empty beds, which I should really have filled out, not leaving them empty. lots of different packets in here. I usually sow the Radiant sunflowers. Is this a packet of Radiance? No, that's Golden Finger. Maybe this? That looks nice and autumnal. What's the name of this one? I can't remember. Is it Velvet something? Oh yeah, Royal Velvet. Might pop a few of those seeds in the ground. Yeah, I'll have to have a good look through these. Oh, what are they doing in here? Zinnias. No, wrong place. I've actually got another box of these. Another box full of flowers with zinnias and, well, I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head. This is box 1. I will eventually probably separate the 2 boxes into cool loving flowers and then the summer heat loving flowers, but for the moment they're kind of all jumbled up. I'm gonna have to go through that other box because I know there's more flowers there that I can be sowing this weekend, and we actually have a long weekend here, so I've got a bit of extra time to get stuck into it. Like for example, I'm just thinking now, like I could probably sow some pansy seeds, viola seeds, calendula, stuff like that, but I won't know a clear list in my head until I go and check what else I've got. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say before I head off is that I don't have the flowers arranged yet. I'm actually dropping them off a day later this week on Saturday, which is tomorrow. So I will get them put together tonight and I'll show you in next week's video. Well, until then guys, thanks so much for watching and happy gardening.